All right, I want to welcome on our next guest. We've got former NFL defensive end, two-time Pro Bowler, Jason Babin. Jason, how's everything going? It was a wild world we're living in right now. How are you managing?
I'm doing pretty good. I actually just got off the Peloton. I wasn't
Cool.
an indoor cyclist or a cyclist by any means, but just trying to keep my cardio up.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's awesome. And then, so we haven't had sports in a while. We've kind of had, have you been watching The Last Dance on weekends, on Sundays, just kind of getting you by it a little bit?
I have not.
Oh,
But I've,
wow.
I've heard about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions about your career going on. So I know you went to Western Michigan. So you're from that area, going through there. Did you have thoughts of playing at the highest level then on, or were you just kind of just focused on that?
No, honestly, I wasn't really focused on college. Junior year, I had a lot of scholarships from just about everybody for football, for wrestling, and then I broke my leg my senior year, the first game of my senior
Oh,
season.
wow.
And the schools kept calling, some mid-America type schools, other schools for wrestling and track. But I actually signed up to join the Navy.
Oh, wow. I love
Um,
that.
yeah, I was going to forego college. It wasn't really something on my radar. But then they turned me down because I had asthma. Because
Oh, wow.
I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. My uncle by marriage was a Navy SEAL,
Oh,
and
cool.
I just thought that was just the most patriotic, like high level, thing you could do. So then I actually spent a year just kind of, I don't know, figuring things out. And Western Michigan, Coach Knowles just kept calling. He kept bothering me. Then I finally, said okay, and took a visit there, and said, all right, I'll try this football thing out.
That's awesome. They can't just bring it. You can't bring an inhaler. I don't know. That's
I think
wild.
when you're, 10 miles offshore, getting dropped out of an airplane, it makes you high risk.
Yeah, absolutely. So from there on, getting in there. From there, were you able to manage any academics, stuff outside of football? Just kind of you manage everything well, and kind of, or you just focus on football early?
Oh, I did a terrible job the first year. I think my focus is on how many beers I could drink and how many girls could I talk to. I think that summer I had about 18 credits just to get right. So I thoroughly enjoyed myself year 1 and year 2. That's for sure.
And then so year 3, you just kind of get going, like realizing, okay, like I can.
I mean, even year 1 and 2, the NFL wasn't really on my radar. I
Really?
truthfully wanted to work with my dad and kind of do what he did and kind of expand upon his family company. And I remember getting called into my head coach's office, Gary Darnell. And Gary, he's part of that old school, 1960s, Texas, football. And he said he's got a Southern twang. He's like, now, Jason, I want to tell you something, Jason. Sit down, listen to me now. I know what I'm talking about. And I mean, I don't mean that disrespectful way. I'm just saying that just if you know Gary and you know how to talk, got a 160 pounds, got a snowbird, come, body yelling at me now. So, he was an awesome guy. He's named at my wedding. But
Cool.
he said to me something, between my, after my sophomore year and between my junior year, he said, Jason, I've been doing this a long time. And you can play in the NFL. You have what it takes. You have the intangible skills. You have the size, the speed, the ability. He's like, all you have to do is decide. You make your mind up and dedicate yourself. And I'm not saying I didn't slack off. I didn't skip workouts, but I enjoyed myself thoroughly, and I kind of left that meeting. I'm like, holy shit, maybe I ought to go for this.
Yeah.
So literally it was like a random Tuesday. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to do it, and I kind of really made some tweaks in my life. And, about drinking, about staying up late, about working out in the morning, about going on spring break, about, just all those little things, studying, watching film. I mean, just working out, taking care of my body, just really took it to the next level from then on out. And it was just, once I did that, I mean, the games were easy, things slowed down, they got easier. That's for sure.
And then at what point were NFL teams kind of on your radar? Were you on their radar?
Well, I'd say junior year, there was, some discussion like, oh, who's this kid in the back? And that back then people didn't really leave early unless you're from a big school. I mean, if I did what I did in the MAC junior year, probably would have left early. Because as you know, with the CBA being totally different, obviously for the NFL teams, not for the NFL players. Yeah. DeMarie Smith says we're for the players, Let me just adjust my tie real quick. So things were obviously different back then. But that's the junior year. I was like, oh shit, now it was like, I'm going to get drafted. Now it was like, how high am I going to get drafted? Can I duplicate what I did my sophomore junior year? Do that, then shit, I'm gonna be drafted in, round 1, round 2, So it was a pretty cool experience, and also it was like big fish, small pond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going to Western Michigan, being, at the time before, I'm drawing a blank. The kid went to Tennessee. He was younger than me, wide receiver. He was the 4th pick.
Oh, Corey Davis.
Yeah, Corey Davis. I was a only first round draft pick before Corey.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So it was like, and there's been, I think before I was drafted, there was like a 7 or 8 year, 10-year gap, for anyone getting drafted. So it was kind of a real cool excitement going on during that time while I was there.
And then fast forward to the draft. What was your emotion like when you found out you were going to Houston?
Well, there was some confusion at first because Tennessee kind of last minute, or Houston traded up to Tennessee's pick, and everyone thought I was going to Tennessee. And even the news guy handed me a Tennessee hat, and everyone's like, "All right, we're going to Nashville. We're only 6 hours away." They're like, "No, he's going to Houston, 16 hours away." So there was, but it was obviously at that time, it wasn't like I wouldn't say I had the insight as I do now. It wasn't like I came from a big sports family.
Yeah.
It was like I just came from old school. I appreciate getting drafted. It was awesome. Yeah. If I could go back and tell my younger self, hey, pay attention, I would have said, hey, you're not going to Texas. I would have done the pre-draft work saying I don't want to be drafted by a 3-4.
Interesting.
I want to be drafted by a 4-3. Because I'm an okay linebacker. 10 times better defensive end. I'm a pass rusher, not an outside linebacker. I never did it in college. But everyone's like, well, he's athletic, he's smart, he can do all those things, and that would be the one thing I would say. Okay, let's go back. Look at I remember your Peyton Manning or Eli Manning, sorry, and I got to know him junior year, going into senior year because we were play ball American together. But
cool.
I remember looking back and his dad obviously with all the insight say, hey, he's not going to San Diego. He doesn't fit that system. So I'm like, damn, I wish I would have had an advocate like that, because looking back, if I would have played defensive end my whole career versus half linebacker, half defensive end, you'd say, okay, how many sacks would I have? Because you can't tell me one person that's got 100 sacks that's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying I would have had 100, but chances are likely I would have had 100. So there's and obviously when you start hot, you get the opportunity to finish hot, and I obviously finished hot, but didn't start hot. So, there's one thing like, damn, I wish I could have.
And then I have a question. At what point did they draft Mario Williams?
My 3rd year.
So were you, by then, were you still playing linebacker or did they have you at the end?
I was like an outside linebacker.
Okay.
And keep in mind, the Texans,
yeah.
We were the bad news bears, man. I was kind of like, those first 3 years, I was like, God, this is the NFL. This is miserable. We were 1-15, I think 4-12, 5-7, those 3 years. And it was just like 10 games, 3 years. I was like, God, this sucks, and when you're in an environment where, you don't win and coaches are feeling the pressure because they get fired. They got fired every year. I think somebody got fired, or more than one guy got fired as far as coaching staff goes. So I think at one point we were having 6:45 a.m. meetings, trying to get better. So it was it wasn't that enjoyable in the first 2 years.
Did I see that the Greg Roman was on the coaching staff then? For who's on the Ravens now?
I think you're right, man. I kind of had to go to way back when you said that. Think about it, but I think
wild.
You're right.
That's wild. That's wild. And then for the current rookies now, since it's kind of like a different landscape now and everything's like virtual, what do you think they're missing out on that like kind of was like instrumental to helping you kind of get going early on?
Well, I think for me, and I hate to go back to the old CBA and the old ways, because everyone, thinks like, oh, it's old, it's antiquated, it's barbaric. But that's what I know, and that's what I loved, is that's what I appreciated about the NFL. Like there's so many things now that, when they say, okay, it's player safety, or, oh, you can't hit that way. He's a defensive receiver, or you're hitting him too low, too high, too hard. I kind of didn't fit in the last few years in the NFL because I'm like, well, like this is, I'm a gladiator. I am trying to end someone's career. I am trying to break their bones, their spleen. I'm trying to end their career, and being a part of that, the rookie hazing. I know, there was obviously some situations where went too far, and with the Dolphins, but that was just part of earning your stripes. The shit you had to do or the things you had to endure. You hadn't earned anything yet. It's just like it's any high level profession. There's hazing, and now we can't have that. Like, oh, we're equal. Like, no, we're not equal because we're not the same. I remember at the Texans when what was the D tackle? I was a rookie when I was there. Shoot, I think he's still there now. Big guy. Anyway, you'll know. You obviously know.
Yeah.
Heck of a play. I think he went to the Pro Bowl recently. But I remember Trent Colton got called to the office by Andy because we were being too hard on him. And I'm like, listen, he's soft. And listen, I've had this conversation with him in public before with the coaching staff. And I don't mean soft in like, he's a pussy, but soft in the sense of like, listen, this is real life. These are people's jobs, people's livelihood. You make a mistake, we run a stunt and you don't do it. And you just, it's my bad. Like, no, ain't no my bad, So I was extra hard on him, but I think, I got yelled at, whatever, reprimanded, like, well, you don't do that. And I'm like, okay. But if you ask him now, I guarantee he'll be like, oh, yeah, dude, I appreciate that, So I think those old ways, that these rookies aren't getting, especially now being virtual, it's just like, it's almost, why even have them? I talked to Josh Wells, defensive tackle or offensive tackle today on the phone. And he's like, yeah, we're doing Zoom meetings. I'm like, come on. I mean, football players, and let's be honest, we all have ADD probably. We can't pay attention, even sitting in the room. So I can't imagine we're really getting anything out of these Zoom meetings. It's just a way for coaches to check the box. You know what I mean?
I think the Saints just said screw it. They're just like, yeah, we'll see you when we see you.
Well, you know what? People are afraid, which obviously that coach there has got the lineage to back it up. But most coaches are afraid in the NFL to be pragmatic, right? Because if they are pragmatic and it's outside of the norm, if we don't meet 80 hours, if we don't sleep at the office, if we don't do this, and we don't win, well, then, there's the reason. Yeah. But when you have that kind of lineage and that kind of ability, like someone like Coach Fish, I was with him with the Titans. Listen, he did things in a smart way. He was a player. He get it. Like, listen, we can run this 10 times. We can run 100 times. It's not going to make a difference. Either we're going to get it, we're not going to get it, And he's like, hey, go home, be with your families. Let's get out here early today, Not a lot of coaches would do that, but obviously he's a player and a coach, and has won lots of games, so he could do that. There's not a lot of coaches that are like that think pragmatically or think logically,
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, and then talking about the Titans, like seeing what they did last year, do you like the moves they made?
Oh, I definitely do. I'm I enjoyed the heck out of my 1 year there, and I always go to alumni weekend. And
cool.
It's a really great city. I mean, it was one of our top when we decided, where we're going to live when we retire. Yeah. They were in our top three of the places we want to live.
That's awesome. Yeah, Nashville just seems like an awesome place, and it seems like they're just building a great culture there, especially with Vrabel, and you got Tannehill, you got Derrick Henry, you got Corey Davis, you got your fellow. We'll see how he's doing.
I love Vrabel. I mean, I two reasons. One, when I was getting drafted, because I played, tight end too in the NFL and in college, for the same situations, and they compared me to him. People even say, hey, you guys kind of look alike. Even there was the last alumni weekend, we were standing by each other at the pregame or the night before, walkthrough, and like, are you guys related? Yeah, and plus he's done an amazing job over there.
That's awesome. And then going over, I most remember your time in Philly because I remember you and Trent Cole just like a machine. What was that time like, just terrorizing the NFC East?
That was great. I mean, it was one of those things where you got to be under a microscope in a good way.
Yeah.
Because you're at Tennessee, you're at Seattle, you're at these markets that aren't, you see someone at the store like, hey man, what's up? Or I didn't even say anything to you. Like, I don't know the guy, but I know who he is, whatever. Yeah. But you're in, those East Coast cities like, Philly, New York. It's like, oh my God, it's like it's almost like you're living on another planet, You get to do what you want. You get treated differently. I mean, it's just it's a unique experience in good ways and bad.
Yeah. But
it was fun when you're on a team where you have a Trent Cole on the other side. You have a Cullen Jenkins in the middle.
Yeah.
When you have, a Mike Vick, where you can score in any play. Because, and I was always so jealous of Freeney, at the Colts. I'm like, well, shit. This guy, he gets to rush a passer 3/4 a game because they're up by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The other team has no choice, Or we're going to establish our running game. You're 3 touchdowns behind. You got to sling it. So it was really my first time of being on a high-powered offensive team where I knew I was going to pass rush,
Yeah.
Guess what? If I get the pass rush 25 snaps a game, if I don't get a sack, you're going to be hurting the next day. I don't know how many times where, we literally took the quarterback out of the game. God, who was the quarterback with the Jaguars? I guess CTE is real. Garrard, right? And we're friends now.
Oh, cool.
But because I'm here in Jacksonville, and I remember I first, started hanging out, and I could still feel there's some animosity. There was a game where apparently we'd broken a rib, ruptured something. He had to stay in the hospital and couldn't travel home with the team. I'm like, he was like, "You were trying to hurt me, huh?" I'm like, "Absolutely. I was trying to change your life." I was, and having someone with the same mindset, or multiple people with the same mindset. I mean, I think the D line that one year had 40 or 45 sacks, sacks just in the D line. I think it might have been top 3 in the NFL record books. And it was just fun to be a part of that, high explosive team. And really, I'd love to say it was a defensive line, it was the secondary, or it was the linebackers, but it was really just being part of a high-powered offense. Having that offense that can just score at will, from you never know any play. It just gave us that threat where we get to pass rush more, and more shots on goal. I mean, more sacks we're going to have. So that was such a cool. I mean, I wish I could have had that kind of team my entire life. Been on with a Peyton Manning, or someone like a Drew Brees, where all right, you get to tee off, baby. So a little jealous of Franny for sure on that one.
And then looking at some of the top pass rushers you see in the league now, I'm in the DC area. What is a guy like Chase Young? What do you see when you see him kind of coming into the scene?
I like guys that have that, and I call it the ability to bend, right? And I used to want to be, before I'm trying to make my mind up when I grow up, what do I want to do? I contemplated, the pro personnel side, like that you're being a general manager, understanding how to put the pieces together, getting the right people, creating culture. That's something that I enjoy doing. It's what I do now in my own businesses. But I would always watch tape, with the general manager, with the pro guys, in my off time, free time to evaluate talent. And there's a saying that I learned from, some guys that I thought were really good at evaluating talent. Is pass rush talent was the ability to bend. It's not something you can quantify. It's not something you can put in a box. It's how fast, how fast is 40? What's his vertical jump? What's his 225? How many sacks did he have? But that ability to bend, and that motor, that nonstop motor, where you see a guy get hit and chipped, he's leaning, bending, he's still digging, trying to go back, So those are things that you either have or you don't have. I can work with a guy on his pass rush moves, on putting in combinations, on getting him stronger, maybe getting him faster. But if you don't have those two intangible things, to me, I wouldn't draft you and I wouldn't call you a pass rusher. You know what I mean? Like, those are things you have. Like, I can watch a tape and be like, yep. I mean, I'm talking Pop Warner all the way to the pros. Yeah. It's something you have or you don't have. We can enhance it. We can make it better. But that ability to bend, it's just to me, it's art, it's art within sports. And I think for maybe someone that, maybe that you and I don't spend much time with the detailed information, it's like, what are you talking about, Ben? What does that mean? I'm like, well, I don't think I can explain it to you then.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. And then, so who are your top 3 defensive ends right now in football that you think are just like these guys, like from the get-go, you're like, this guy's got it?
Truthfully, I really don't watch much.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I spend most of my free time with coaching my kids,
cool.
In sports. And I'll occasionally, like, I'll go to the game, but I don't keep up, with the guys. I'm sure as my kids get old and they start paying more attention to the NFL and college. Right now, they're interested in college sports. I take them to some pro games, but I don't pay attention that much.
Oh, cool. Cool. And then I know you're talking about your business now. So for post football, I know I saw you're doing some construction or realty. You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. My father he was owning a business, mainly did electrical, but he also dabbled in some development. And, partway through my career, I started dabbling in some renovations, buying properties, fixing them up, renting them out, multifamily, and then started doing some development, then neighborhoods, then apartments, then commercial. And recently we created a real estate brand, Red Zone Realty. And now we have some offices from Florida all the way up to Michigan. And, we do high-level residential real estate mainly, and property management. And then we also do an investment side of things, because a lot of our clients are sports guys or girls who take care of some professional, female athletes as well. And for the investment side, we identify multifamilies, commercial properties, help them purchase them, renovate them, manage them, so they have, that retirement money that comes in their account every month, where it's just like, okay, I got it. So now when you're 40, 50 years old, like, oh, I'm still getting that money. Like, you're still getting that money. So
That's awesome.
And we kind of help educate them as well. We kind of make them, participate in the deal, from a knowledge standpoint as well.